Alright, YouTubers, if you're watching this video, you probably have the same problem as many of us that have the Samsung model refrigerators. The issue with this refrigerator is that it tends to ice up top or bottom. They have the twin cooling with this particular model, and the issue I had was several months ago, my top portion of the refrigerator iced up. Now I have did all the difficult work already, but what the situation was, there's a fan that's located behind this evaporator coil panel, and what tends to happen is an ice builds up and it causes the fan blade to rub up against it, making noise. The issue that I found out today is that there's also a drain that's located here, and it's supposed to drain periodically water from the refrigerator. But what was happening was my drain was clogged up, filled with ice. So if you have this problem, what you're going to have to do, there are technically 4 screws that you're going to have to remove this evaporator coil panel. One right here, 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 and there's one located under this little cover right here. I removed this one right here, but you really don't have to remove that one. But 1, 2, 3, 4. And you have to be careful when you're taking that pan off, because 9 times out of 10, if you have an issue, you're going to have a lot of ice build up behind it, and it's going to tend to not want to come off. So if you have time, take the time and allow it to thaw out, because if you don't, you'll probably end up breaking the styrofoam that's on the back of it, which I did, and I had to try to patch it up as best I could to put it back together. One issue you want to try to resolve is, I didn't make the video while I had it taken down, but like I said, there's a little drain that runs up in here that tends to drain out the bottom of the refrigerator. Mine was stopped up with ice, so what I had to do is I had to keep pouring hot water down it until I was able to get the ice to melt. The ice that built up here around the coil, I used some hot water to get rid of that as well. When I took this panel off, there was ice all over the blade, which I took that outside and just kind of let it set out in the sun and thawed the ice out enough to be able to remove it. Now what you want to do is, if you find yourself with the issue of it not draining, take a look around the back of your refrigerator. The bottom of the refrigerator, there are 2 drain lines. This line right here is the one that actually drains the water off of the evaporator coil, and that's the one that was plugged up with ice. So basically what I did was I kept running water through the little drain hole until I was able to get water to come down through this line right here. There's also another drain line right here, which this one is, I believe, is for the freezer portion to be able to drain out. So if you have this issue, make sure that you don't just pull the evaporator coil off and thaw out the ice and put it back together. Pull these 2 tubes off and make sure that they are draining properly, so you don't have any issues with any backing up. Also, another issue that I had was my ice maker was not making any ice, and the issue that was causing that to happen, as I said, we have twin cooling on this particular model. You have an evaporator coil up here, and then you have one down in the freezer. I'm not going to open it up right now. I did video footage a while back when I resolved that issue, but you're basically going to have to take this door off and all your food out and all your drawers out and take your back panel out. The issue I had there was that I didn't realize it, but there's 2 fans down in the freezer portion. One of the fans had the same issue going on with the ice buildup and blades turning up against the ice, making noise. The issue with my ice maker not making ice was the fact that the fan that should have been running to blow cool air through a cold air duct into the ice maker, that's the particular fan that was not working because of the ice buildup. So a couple of weeks ago, I pulled all of this apart and I went in and I pulled the evaporator coil for my freezer panel. I pulled the panel out and removed the ice from the fan and had pretty much the same situation. The drain, or the cold air duct was iced through, so basically I flushed hot water through the cold air duct until I was able to get water coming out the bottom. And basically now I'm making ice, but just to give you a good idea of what I'm talking about, if you notice the little opening right about where my finger is, that is the cool air duct. And what's going on is when the fan in the freezer is working properly, it's going to blow cold air from the freezer up through the back panel or the back wall of the refrigerator, and it's going to come out through that little duct right there. Any water that's going to accumulate in the ice trays will freeze as a result of that cool air circulating into the ice maker. The issue I was having, as I said, was this little duct going all the way down to the freezer was frozen solid with ice. The fan that should have been blowing cold air up to the ice maker wasn't able to do it because it was iced over. And you will see pictures and a little video of what that kind of looked like when I pulled it out. But again, if you have an issue with your Samsung refrigerator, one, making noise, whether it's top or bottom, 9 times out of 10, if you open up your French doors and the sound or the noise stop, that's because when you open up the doors, the fan will turn off and thus the noise will stop. Close the door and the fan starts to turn again and rub against the ice and make the noise. So you're going to have to take this fan off, thaw it out as best you can, remove the ice, and like I said, don't just put it back together. Make sure that your drain that's going to the drain pipes on the back of the refrigerator are clear to allow any water, whenever it does itself thawing, it allows that water to be removed from the refrigerator, because if it's not being removed, it's just going to build up and ice up, and eventually you're going to have an ice build up on your fan motor. And I think what my main issue is that when you pull this off, you'll see that there's a little metal piece that kind of sticks down in the drain hole, and if that is not being heated properly, it's not going to allow that refrigerator to thaw out. So also try to just make sure that that is in the drain hole like it should, and it should allow the thawing and the draining to take place as necessary. Again, if you're having issues with your ice maker not making ice, I was getting water but it wasn't freezing, and like I said, the issue was I wasn't getting the cold air to come from the freezer through this little duct right here. And once I resolved that issue, voila, started making ice again.